Oh, I'm sorry, it's not about these. What's up, guys? I've been asked a few times that what should I make for my first leather project. In this video, I am going to make a suggestion. For our first project, I would suggest that we make something simple but has most of the basic necessary steps. The idea of this project is not going to be making something that you're going to show off to your friends, but instead is to get ourselves familiar with the tools and the basic steps. By doing so, hopefully we will be more prepared for a more serious project next time. In this case, I'm going to make a very simple coin purse with a simple snap for closure. I have this piece here. The thickness is about 2 millimeter. The first thing I'm gonna do is to figure out how to make the most out of these. In this end here, I have about 12 inches. And same on this edge, I have about maybe 13 inches. And right here, it's about 8 inches. So with the size of this piece of leather here, I think I should be able to make a coin purse with the size of 3.5 by 3.5 inches. So it's going to be a square. So the first thing I'm going to do is to cut a rectangle from the middle of this piece first. So the shape of the coin purse would be something like this. With the snap here. So it will be very simple. Just like I said, the width would be 3.5 inches. Also the height is also 3.5 inches. So when we cut out the rectangles that we need, the width is of course going to be 3.5 inches. The length will be so let's see if we can have three inch here. So we're gonna need about 10 inches for the length and 3.5 for the width. And we are going to add a gusset on the side. So it will be something like this. I'm going to mark the rectangle with this awl and with this ruler. I strongly suggest that you should get one of these ruler with a L shape, because this gives you the perfect 90-degree angle. Now that I have the rectangle here, as I said before, the length would be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to cut the gusset from this piece, and the length of the gusset is not going to be 3.5 inches because we're going to bend this part over here. So the gusset will probably be 3 inches. Now that we have the main piece ready and 2 pieces of cassette, the next step is to install the snap first, because when you have stitched everything together you will not be able to install the snap. But even before we install the snaps, since this part here is going to be the front flap of the purse, so I will have the corner rounded with my favorite method. Here are the snaps. And these are the tools to install them. To install these snaps, I will have to punch some holes, and I'm going to use these with a mallet. I will have to mark the distance. I think she's trying to speak. Now we got the 2 holes for the front flap, and then we're gonna fold it and we're gonna mark the other 2 holes. Now that we have all the hole punched, but we are not going to install the snap yet because we have another very important step to do, is beveling. Imagine when we have everything stitched together, we will not be able to bevel like this corner. You're not going to be able to bevel that. So it is better that we do the beveling right now. So right now I'm going to bevel. And we can also bevel the gussets as well. Now that we have all the parts beveled, then we can install the snaps. There we go. Now we have these parts ready, and we have two gussets ready. We are going to glue the two gussets onto the front bit, but before we do that, we are going to burnish these parts here, because look at this. When you have glued the cassette to this bit over here, you will not be able to burnish this area. So we are going to burnish these three edges first. So for burnishing, we will need these wood burnisher and some water. A lot of people asked me what is the liquid that I rub on the surface of the edge before burnishing. Is actually water. The idea is to moisturize the edge so that it gives you a better result. Now we are going to glue them together with my favorite 881 adhesive. So before applying glues, I am going to mark right here so that I know my glues will only apply from the edge until the mark. I'm going to mark this side as well. To apply glues, I have these palette knife. This is a larger one and this is a much smaller, but I prefer to use this one. Don't worry about the excess glue on the edge, because when it dries you can easily rub them off with your finger. You can simply use your finger to rub off the excess glue. It's that easy. Now that we have glued the gussets to the front part, but we are not going to glue it to the back at this moment, because we have to stitch it first. To make the stitching hole, we are going to use this wing divider to mark the distance. In this case, 5mm would be nice. Okay, that's about 5mm. And the other side. This is actually a cutting board for meats. I found it very useful because it's quite heavy. I'm going to use this stitching iron. This stitching iron gives about 7 stitches per inch, which is quite good for a small leather goods like this one. But you have to be very careful to make sure the stitching iron is perpendicular to your work. Now that we have the stitching holes ready, and then we are going to do the stitching. I have these needles, probably made in China, cheap stuff, nothing fancy, and these threads. It's the 210D, is what they call. The thickness of the thread is about 2 millimeters, and they claim that it is waxed polyester, but I don't see a lot of wax here. So what I'm going to do is to use a piece of wax here. I'm going to wax it myself. Okay, there you go. Put it on top of the wax and pull it out. There you go. So a lot of people asked, what is the length of the thread that you're gonna need? According to my experience, it's about 4 times the distance, the length that you're gonna do the stitching. So I'm gonna roughly do 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. If you are not familiar with stitching, I'll put the link right here to a video that I talk about stitching, and you can refer to it. 肥妹啊！ So now I have finished one side and I am going to finish the other side. Okay, now I have both sides stitched. So now it's time to move on to gluing the gussets to the back and have it stitched. Okay, before I put glues, I am going to mark the area where I'm going to put the glues. Okay, now the gussets are glued to the back side. So I am going to mark the stitching line using a ring divider. And then I'm going to use this stitching iron to mark the holes. But I'm not going to punch through the leather. I'm just going to make the marking, because in this angle I will not be able to put something underneath this gap here. And then I'm going to use this stitching awl to make the hole. Okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a thicker piece of leather underneath the gap, and then I'm going to use the stitching ball to punch the stitching hole very gently. Okay, now I have this side punched, and I'm going to do the other side as well. Okay, now I have all the stitching hole. Since this video is already taking too long, so I'm not going to show you stitching. I'm going to put a link somewhere here. Okay, now this coin purse is almost finished. It has been glued and stitched, and the last step is burnishing. Now that we have made a very simple coin purse, which is quite easy to make and yet very practical, the purpose of this project is not to make something to impress your friends. The purpose is to make yourself familiar with the tools and the steps. Once you are familiar with everything, you can go ahead to add a little of your own design. Then you can make something which is a little bit more complicated. Just for example, I make this pouch to put my external battery for my phone. It's custom fit, and I make this little pocket for the cable. And for closure, I still use the snaps. But you can see there are two snaps here, which I can adjust. The purpose is when I have my cable connected to the phone, where I still want to close the pouch, I can use the other snap. This is why leatherwork is interesting, because you can always customize your work to fit your needs. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, thank you for watching.